So we're back again, carrying on with this ETA reassembly.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we have to stop occasionally because people come in the shop.
Yep. So here we go. We're back to the dial side. We're going to put this baby together. And
so we flipped over to dial side now.
Yeah. And I'm going to dump all the parts for the dial side down.
Okay, so these have come out of the little pot from the cleaner.
Yeah. And I go ahead and gizmo my free cannon pinion. And that's pretty straightforward. So take the clean my oiler. Now the way I would mount the, I would put it to show you how to do it. It's just to put it in the, put it on the bench block to support it.
Mm-hmm.
And I just, instead of squeezing a lot of this stuff, I just take it right from the spout.
I was going to say you take it to the glue rather to the lube rather than the other way around.
Yeah, just take it. And now we're just putting a really faint amount of gizmo right here because this pinion slides on this wheel. Just like that. And then we'll put another little bit. On the other side, tilt it at an angle. That's it. Might have put a little more than I intended, but we'll clean it off. And that's it. And then we take the wheel. Now, if you set it down upside down and you don't get any grease on your bench, it's good. So then we pop that baby on there.
Okay.
There we go. And I mean, I'm not hard fixed on a order here. So you can have an assembly order that suits you. You'll know when you're out of order. Okay, so now we have to lubricate our escape wheel jewel on the dial side.
Okay.
All right. Then we're going to come in here. Now look, I'm going to rest my hand on the bench. I'm going to tilt the movement to me. We've got some fine oil on the oiler. Remember, we're not going to oil. This is the pallet jewel. We're not going to lubricate that. We're going to lubricate our escape jewel. That's it. And then we're going to lubricate the next jewel, which would be the... Now remember that the center is already lubricated. So this would be our third. That's it. And then we're going to use HP high pressure on the great wheel, because there's a lot of torque in that neighborhood. And there's our great wheel right there. There. First time I couldn't see it, and it did go. So there, we're lubricated. And I guess we'll just stay in order here, and we're gonna lubricate our cap jewels. So now, can you see?
Yep, I'm relatively zoomed in.
So here's your Inca block spring, or your...
That's the shock absorber, is it?
This is your shock spring that holds the cap jewel down, and this spring is meant to flex. And I'm very gently
kind of lift it up.
I'm pressing it sideways with my 60 screwdriver. If you bend that spring too much, it will break.
So that frees up the jewel so you can lubricate it.
Freeze it up to get it out. and then I'm going to hopefully pick up both jewels at the same time. And they did. Now I'm going to move my movement aside and clear my way, and I'm only going to focus on this. Am I right where you want me?
Yeah.
Okay.
So here's my question. If you're going to lubricate this jewel, why have you not just dropped oil on it and left it where it was? Why have you had to take it out?
Good question, because there's two jewels. There's the cap jewel and the hole jewel.
Okay.
And the cap jewel holds the drop of oil, and then it sandwiches with the hole jewel, and they create a reservoir of oil.
Oh, so you're almost like lifting up.
There's two parts here. If you focus,
Gotcha.
if you can see it.
I'll try, but that's a lot of zooming. So let's see what we can do. Yeah, I think it's going to be a bit too grainy, but... So the idea here is you've actually got to get that oil in between the two and then put the cap back on top.
Right, but I'm going to show you. I'm going to put my drop of oil on the cap jewel on the flat side.
Okay.
And make sure it's clean. And then I'm going to no, he flipped over, so I'm going to flip him back over. Pause.
Yeah. Okay, we're back again.
Yeah, so anyways, my jewel is actually dirty. You know, it went through the cleaner, but it picked up a little bit of something. So I'm just going to clean it. There we go. So now I'm going to you gotta get a little around. You should be covering about 3/5 of the surface of the jewel face. So, right. For some reason, my oiler is not picking up that much oil. Can you pause that when you start
Yeah.
over? Can you zoom in on that jewel?
I'm quite zoomed in now. I don't know that I can come in any closer. Maybe we could do a separate video on just this as a little aside, and I can bring the camera in really, really close.
So I'm holding the jewel at an angle so I can see.
And you said you want to cover about 3/5 of
it? Yeah. Now, when you put the cap jewel on, the oil is going to draw.
I was going to say the capillarity of it.
So I put the whole jewel on top.
Yep.
Make a sandwich. It's good. Bring the movement back.
Okay, I'm just going to zoom out.
Get that spring out of the way. The watch is running because it doesn't have a stop. The hack is not in yet. The hack goes in when you put the automatic module on. So you can't stop the watch like on a Rolex. You can stop it while you oil your cap jewels. So I'm going to drop the jewel in there.
And then that metal cap, that clasp
there. So he went in nice. Now I'm going to put my spring, my kiff spring, my shock spring back on, and I'm just going to gently snap him in. Just like that. He's in. And we're good. Okay, so let's put this dial side stuff together. So now we have to lubricate our winding pinion and our sliding pinion. So here's our winding pinion.
Oh, just moved it.
And there's our sliding pinion. And I'm going to hold the winding pinion with my tweezer, and I'm going to put some high pressure grease on it, on its ratchet teeth. Get one there. And there, and it'll spread when it ratchets. And then I set the sliding pinion on it, like its little own assembly, just like that. Pick it up and drop them in place on the movement. There we go. Pause. No, keep going. So now I have my stem. Sorry, I touched it. Turn it off. So we're going to put some HP on the pivoting end of the stem.
Okay.
And each side of the score shank of the stem. 1, 2. It's kind of, sometimes it's a challenge to spin it. You get used to it, then you spin it. Put a little more. They have a tool for everything nowadays, including a special type of sponge or something where you stick the stem in it and it greases it for you. But hey, just get that stem in there. There we go. There we go. And I'm going to back off the sliding pinion onto the there. So we're all lubed up. I got the stem in. And now we know what parts we want to put together. We want to put the rocker in there. There's our rocker. And we want to put the, here's our rocker, sorry. That was our setting lever, I apologize. Here's our yoke. And the yoke is sprung, tension sprung by the actual jumper spring maintaining plate. They're here. So these 4 parts are going to go in. So the first one that I'm going to put in is the rocker, and I'm going to lubricate right where he pivots, right here. And then I'm going to lubricate a little bit on the hole where the setting lever goes in. Right there. So I'm going to put the rocker on right there. Dropped in place right there. I'm also going to lubricate the pivot on the rocker for the intermediate wheel. I think it's an intermediate setting wheel. And he's over here. But I'm not going to put him on yet because he'll fall out while we're working. Okay. Now, there's a pin on the bottom of the setting lever right here. That's what sits on the groove of the stem. And this is the actual button you press from the underside when you want to take the stem out. And he sits in this hole right here. There he's in. And if you see when he's in action, if we get him seated, you can see them work together.
Or a split stem.
Back.
Yeah, we're back.
And but now you can see them working together.
Yeah, as you're pushing in and out.
There's a lot of, look at that, you got 5 parts all doing something together.
It's cool, isn't it?
Yeah, it's funny though. But yeah, you got your rocker working together, your sliding pinions moving back and forth, is backing into the winding pinion, your stem is moving the setting lever. They're all working together, which is good. So they're all seated. So now we have to put the yoke on. So I'm going to lubricate the little post for the yoke right here. And the yoke will sit on the groove of the sliding pinion. So now if you did that again, you'll see they're all really working together. Yeah, that's neat. Okay, so now the next one to go on is going to be our yoke spring, maintaining plate. It goes upside down. I'm looking at the orientation because there's a tab here and a hole here, screw hole here. This is where it actuates with the setting lever, and this spring is what's going to snap against the whole tension against the yoke. So we're going to set that down right there. Right there. And now we want to be careful that stuff doesn't fly, so we're going to go ahead and hold it down with our tweezer. And these three screws on this side are all the same, so you can't get confused. Got a little magnetism going with these tweezers. I just like the shape, but I got to demag them. And we're going to have to go in the drawer and work on a new pair of tweezers for the... There we go. So now we don't want to go crazy here. We just want to go in gently. Make sure everything lines up. And I'll use my brass tweezers to get it on that post. There we go. Now we can drive it home. Tighten it, and then here's this tension I was saying. It snaps against the yoke right here, watch. I mean, it snaps down. There, I snapped it. And we're also already lined up with our pin of the setting lever. And I forgot to lubricate my sliding pinion. Sorry. I'll show you what I forgot to do. Do that again. Pick him up gently. There we go. So, where my yoke sits, I'll take the yoke off real quick. Yoke's not coming up because it's pretty fitted. It'll come up like this. Actually, here's where we lubricate our sliding pinion. Right there. Now look at the yoke. There we go, seated right on the sliding pinion. That's where we want it to be. Thank you. Everything okay?
Yeah.
Good. Let's do that again with that screw. Get that back on there. Drive that screw home. tighten that down. Here's that spring aspect of the plate. Snaps against the yoke. Everything looks good. And now we should have action. So we got winding, position 1. Date setting, position 2. Time setting, position 3. Everything feels good. Everything's lubricated, not over lubricated. It's good. Okay, so that's one section that we just did. So now let's put this thing together to the point where we'll have the date wheel. Okay, so yes, we're gonna we're